Alright, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Kayle 1 versus 9. Back at it again with some fresh, not gameplay today, but we will be talking a bit about some really frequently asked questions, right? A lot of people ask, like, you know, when do I go press the attack? When do I go lethal tempo? When do I go AP? When do I go AD? You know, do I go mid lane? Do I go top lane? This and that. And yeah, we're just gonna talk about it a bit. You know, I will just explain to you guys my thought process in like the matchups. You know, when to Q max, when to E max, and all this stuff. And I only have these alerts. We're gonna do a bit different. Okay, we'll like the chat right here. Actually, we can put the chat like right here. It's fine. All right. So listen, we're gonna start off. Guys, you can ask questions, okay? If you have questions, feel free to ask, okay? We're gonna start off with Q or Emax, because that's what we just talked about on stream, right? So, I will explain to you in what matchups I think Qmax is better and what matchups I think Emax is better, okay? Listen. First of all, I feel like in top lane, overall, Qmax is way better. Simple reasons. You get more wave clear early on. You get more burst damage early on. So you have better traits. You have a better slow, right? Helps you escape ganks as well. And the most important part, you know, is literally that you are able to crash waves faster. And that's what is top lane all about, right? So that's why I think top lane Qmax is better, right? For these like simple things. If you look at all the matchups top lane, right, we see a lot of, mostly 90%, 95% melee champions, okay? And if you look at the top lane champions that Kayle loses into, you will see a really, really interesting thing, okay? So, you see Quinn, right? You see Naxos, you see Akshan, you see Trinity, you see Malphite, you see Riven, okay? All of these champions have, like, one thing in common, right? All of these champions, okay? Kayle loses into all of these champions for like different reasons, first of all, right? Quinn is obviously a ranged champion, so she can abuse your insanely weak early game, right? Nasus outscales you because, you know, no one cares about top lane. Akshan, same thing for Quinn. Tryndamere has a dash. Malphite, not sure how people lose into Malphite though. You know, Riven has 3 dashes, a really, you know, obvious reason. Teemo is ranged. Yone has dashes, not sure why people lose into Vladimir top lane. And if you look at all these matchups, right? There's like 1, 2, 3 ranged champions, right? The hardest are like 3 ranged champions. So most of the champions are melee champions. And Qmax will help you a lot, especially into champions like Riven, you know, into champs like Yone, even Vladimir, right? Or if you look a bit to the left side, Tryndamere, Nasus. The Q slow will help a lot, right? Because you will be able to kite better, right? More points in the Q means better slow, more damage, etc., right? And that's why I don't like maxing E, because top lane is all about your Q. Your Q has insane high value. Who should you ban in mid lane? Whoever you don't want to play against. I don't want to play against LeBlanc, so I'll just ban LeBlanc, right? Simple as that. Right? And the reason why I think, right, why Emax is better in mid lane, or like in most matchups, is simply because you can't really use your Q the way you use it in top lane. Because in all those mid lane champions, right, if you look at mid lane, all these champions are mages, right? You know, with like Assassin, Zed, and Kiana. But like the rest, they're all ranged champions. So your Q isn't as helpful as in top lane, because all these champions, right, they're ranged, right? So hitting your Q is not as likely as hitting your Q in top lane. And this is why people like to max E, or like why I like to max E in mid lane. Because maxing Q in top lane, in mid lane, it doesn't do anything. Like literally, it doesn't do anything. Right? You don't get any value of putting more points into Q, right? Because in mid lane, yeah, you just play against all these cancer mages, unfortunately. So this is why I think that maxing Q in top lane is just better, right? You get more wave clear, you get more pressure, and obviously, you know, more slow. Mid lane, this will not help you at all, right? Because they have all a lot of wave clear, right? All mages are designed to have really good wave clear, and, right? Because they are mages, right? They all have AoE abilities. There's not a single champion here that doesn't have an AoE ability, right? If you look at all the champions, this guy has like two AoE abilities. He has like only AoE abilities. They all have AoE, right? So you can never ever keep up with the wave clear. So, right? And that's why you max E. Second question, when do I go lethal tempo? When do I go press the attack, okay? I explained it before. I think this is my only thought process I have, and this is how I decided, right? Sometimes it really depends on the matchup itself, but mostly look at the matchup and just think to yourself, what will work better in the situation, right? For example, if you look into, let's say mid lane, if you look into Cassiopeia, what does Press Attack do, and what does Lethal Tempo do, right? Lethal Tempo enables more, longer, extended trades, right? Lethal Tempo is there. Like, you use Lethal Tempo for extended, long trades, right? You want to stack up the passive with, like, 5 auto attacks and, like, E, you know? And then you get more attack speed, more range, right? So in order to take Lethal Tempo, you have to think about, do I go for extended trades? Do I want to go for extended trades, right? And in matchups like Cassiopeia, it's you know, you can go for it. But if you think about going press attack into Cassiopeia, that's also fine, right? Because you can just go for small trades, you know, with like maybe some points in the queue, right? I like going like 3 points in the queue with press the attack, because you will just have small, short, good burst trade damage, right? But like in matchups like any, what does press the attack do? I will never ever be able to get onto any and like proc my press the attack unless she's like stupid, right? So in matchups like any, you know, Valkos, Victor, press the attack does work, but why not go lethal tempo, right? Because your press attack has no value, and just think about it as this: you don't want to play Kayle for early game anyway, right? You want to play for late game, so why not just go lethal tempo straight up, right? Lethal tempo is way better in late game, right? It helps you in like team fights, right? You get more attack speed. You can not only use like press attack, right? Like on one champion, and then, you know, you have to wait until it's up again. No, lethal tempo enables you to have like insanely good team fights. And you know, that's just how I choose, right? I think about, will I win the short trade? Is it better to go for short trades, right? Or will I go for long trades? In some matchups, you can go for both, right? Like against Irelia, for example, I feel like both does work. And it just comes down to personal preference. But in general, you know, just take lethal tempo if you want to go for extended long trades, right? Like, for example, in top lane, okay? Let's talk about top lane matchups again, right? Like, for example, against Riven, what do you guys think is better? Would press the attack be better or lethal tempo? We don't even talk about fleet footwork, because fleet footwork is a completely different story, right? What do you guys take into Irelia? Well, who did I say? Into Riven? Would you guys go press the attack or lethal tempo? Lovely stream chat. Press the attack? Yeah, exactly, right? Because you will never ever be able to go lethal or like proc your lethal tempo, because all Riven does is, Riven is really good at all-inning, right? Riven isn't a champion that will fight for like 10 seconds against you, right? Riven will literally just one-tap you in like 0.5 seconds if you're not careful. So there's no reason ever to go lethal tempo to Riven, because in order to win against Riven, you need to win these short trades, right? Riven will go in with like E, W, Q, 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 and then like go out again, right? She will poke you down slowly, and this is why press attack is so much better in like these like trading matchups where the enemy also has slow burst or like a short burst damage. Because there's no fucking way she will allow you to proc her lethal tempo, or your lethal tempo, right? Same thing applies for champions, right? Like the same like Riven, right? Let's talk about like, guys, what is another matchup you want to know? Right, same thing for Quinn, right? Lethal tempo, it's useless. You will never proc it. What do I do against Maokai? Into Maokai, like, you know, champions like tanks, I think both works, but I would just go lethal tempo simply because Maokai, he has no damage. Maokai will just, you know, Maokai has to fight for fucking 30 seconds to kill you. So obviously lethal tempo has way more value. Akshan, yeah, into Akshan, I wouldn't go lethal tempo at all. Who plays Maokai? Yeah, no one plays Maokai. I would just go press the attack into Akshan, because Akshan does the same thing, right? He like tries to Q you and then just auto attack, right? And then just, you know, proc his passive and red out. That's why I think press attack is also better into Akshan, because you won't really be able to stack your lethal tempo at all, right? Versus Jax, guys. Jax is simple. Don't go press the attack. Don't go lethal tempo to Jax. I talked about it before. Comet is the way, right? If you use my spreadsheet, you know, you can scroll down and, you know, there's the L9 arcane tech, right? This is the page I use into Jax. I've explained it before. I like going QMax. There's also a Jax, look. Resolve, bone biting, unflinching, perma, spam Q, play Kayle like a poke mage. That's all you have to do, right? Into Jax, you can never ever, like, get close to him, right? Because he will just jump on you, he will use his counter strike, he will stun you, and he will just shit on you. Against Jax, you have to stay out of range, and the only possible damage you have into Jax is like Q max, right? You just want to spam Q on him, and that's why I like going like Arcane Comet, because it gives like the extra amount of poke. You can also go like Wits, you can also go like Fleet Footwork, that works, but I really like, and it definitely works, Arcane Comet, right? Yeah, it's about spacing, basically, right? Do you do long trades or short versus Volibear? Simple. You don't win long trades into Volibear, because Volibear's W has like, what, 3 seconds cooldown? So if you just keep on playing against Volibear, he will just heal, right? First strike, I would not go first strike on Kayle. I don't think it's good. So, I would go press the attack, but honestly, you know, if you look at Volibear right here, guys, dodge. I think it's a unplayable matchup. He will just perma dive you, and if they have a jungler, like, there's nothing you can do. I think this it's literally unplayable matchup in like high elo. Next question is, when do I go AP? When do I go AD? Guys, it's really simple. Always go AP unless you have like 2 AP champs in your team, right? If you play top lane and you see that your jungler is like Diana and you have like mid lane Kassadin, then there's no reason to go AP, right? Because you already have 2 AP champs, so you go AD, right? Same thing for AP. If you already have like 4 AD champs in your team, right? You play like top lane still, like mid lane, doesn't matter. You have like Rengar in the jungle, you have like Kled top lane, like doesn't matter. Then you obviously shouldn't go AD Kayle, because then your team is full AD and the enemies have a really easy time stacking armor, and then, you know, it's like quite hard. So always go AP, you know, unless your team is heavy AP, then you go AD, right? Or you can also go AD when you have like 2 or like even 1 AP champ, that's fine. But generally, I would always go AP unless my team is full of AP champs. Does an AD Kayle deal hybrid damage? Yeah, it does, right? But she deals magic damage. Even if she goes AD, right? She still has a percentage of magic damage. Who ban if play mid lane? I ban LeBlanc. I think Kiana is a good ban. I think Katarina is a good ban. Even though you don't really lose into Katarina. The lane, she will just perma roam and just get kills off side lane. You know, you can ban Ahri. Ahri is extremely strong this patch. They will nerf her though in like 2 days. And yeah. Look, if you actually look at the thing as well, mid lane Kayle, it shows lethal tempo, right? Top lane shows press the attack. Is Nasus worst matchup for Tryndamere? I think both matchups suck extremely. I feel like there's more counterplay to Nasus, because Nasus is really easy to kite, right? If you play late game, then you can just dodge, you can just out-kite Nasus with like a good team comp, right? Tryndamere has a dash that gets reduced every single time he crits, and Tryndamere will hit at 100% crit chance. So he can like E pretty much every second. With his Gale Force, I think Tryndamere is way more cancer than Nasus. However, in a 1 versus 1, I think Nasus is more cancer. Because into Tryndamere, you can just buy Zonias, and then you can outplay him. But in a 1v1 against Nasus, this guy has perma W up, right? But like overall, I would still say that Tryndamere is more cancer to play against. Because Nasus is like really easy in team fights later on. You know, if you have some CC, you know, you can like just kite him really, really easily. Yeah, AP or AD. Top or mid lane question, right? I still think that mid lane is better. Simply because, I mean, you know, someone said, which I really agree with. Mid lane Kayle is better for yourself, but worse for your team. Because you will give up priority in mid lane. Right? And top lane Kayle is better for the team. Because you can, you know, you're just left alone top lane. You can like kind of scale. Top lane is an island. No one cares about top lane. But it's worse for yourself, right? Because you will get off. You have to play weak side. You will not have fun most of the time. So, I decided to play mid lane because, you know, junglers tend to gank mid lane more than they tend to gank top lane, right? Because people play around Drake, and top lane is really far away from Drake. The matchups are more cancer, but it's just an easier lane to, a safer lane to play overall, right? If you look at the map, League of Legends map. If we look at the map, we can see that top lane, right? The top lane towers are there's way more space in between than between the mid lane turrets, right? So it's way easier for the enemy jungler, enemy top laner to zone you off the tower, right? A lot of times it happens, right? You like die, you walk back to lane because you don't have TP, and then like, you know, they crash a big wave, and like the jungler waits in like the tri-bush, right? And they won't even let you get to your tower anymore. And this is why I absolutely hate, right? If you play against Riven or stuff, they will just stay in between the turrets, and there's no way you will ever get back to your lane, right? In mid lane, this shit cannot happen because mid lane towers are literally next to each other. So you will always get safe to mid lane. And also, it's easier to escape in mid lane because you have one escape ability, you have 2, you have 3, you have 4, you have 5, 6, 7, 8, right? 8 different directions where you can go. In top lane, where do you go? Where do you literally go? You can only go to one side, and this is close to a tower, right? Going here is like, it's no worth. So, right? You have more escape abilities. Even though the matchups suck more in mid lane, it's just an overall easier lane to play, right? A more chill lane. You get to scale for free more in mid lane than in top lane because they cannot abuse you. However, it sucks for your team because you cannot get priority, right? Every mage has more wave clear, and therefore it's just really easy, you know, for them to crash the wave and then just, you know, roam. Yeah. I think that's, you know, that's my explanation, right? Someone asked for Fleet Footwork earlier. I think Fleet Footwork does work as well, like every game. However, you will lose a lot of damage, obviously. But it can be quite nice to have some extra sustain and, you know, like movement speed. It can help in some matchups to like Kite, especially in like really hard matchups like Orianna, you know, Syndra, Azir. It can help, but I feel like it's not worth because you can just go Doran's Shield and Second Wind in these really hard matchups, and you can go Lethal Tempo and just play for late game, right? That's what I would at least do. And yeah. I think mid lane is more forgiving than top lane is. If you fuck up in top lane once, they will freeze on you, right? And there's nothing you can do. In mid lane, freezing is like really hard. So, yeah. That's why I like to play more mid lane. We got AD or AP, we got Lethal Tempo or Press Attack, and we got, yeah, I think we have everything. Yeah, let me know, guys, if you want, you know, more of these videos. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. True. And yeah, I hope this helped a bit. Oh, one last thing. Listen, starting items. A lot of people always ask me how I choose starter items. Okay, it's really simple. It's really simple. Okay, it's really simple. How do you go tank Kayle? You do not go tank Kayle. Okay, listen, guys. Doran's played into matchups where you can actually make use out of it, right? If you want to fight early on, if you have a matchup where you can fight early on, Doran's Blade is good, right? Matchups like Cassidy mid lane, you know, like Yone mid lane. It's aggressive, but you can go for, like, you know, into melee champions where you know you can fight, I would go Doran's Blade. In top lane, you could do it, but honestly, I don't think it's worth in top lane because, you know, top lane is just less forgiving, right? So, in, like, melee mid lane matchups, I would go Doran's Blade. I would, like... I don't think I have a single matchup in top lane where I would go Doran's Blade first. Only if I run, like, Ignite and I want to go for, like, a cheese. Then I think, you know, going Doran's Blade is fine. I would actually go Doran's Blade into Aurelia top lane with Ignite. Because that's the only chance how you beat her. Doran's Shield, basically into any matchup where you get poked a lot, right? Into ranged champions overall that have a lot of poke. Doran's Blade, Doran's Ring into basically anything else, right? Where you can't really use Doran's Blade. You can always go like D-Shield over D-Ring, but like in some matchups, like, you know, in like, let's say like set top lane, even Riven, I think Doran's Ring works really fine. What about boot start? I would never start boots. When you go beats, I would never go beats either. Corrupting Potion, again, I don't think Corrupting Potion is worth... It's only worth when you actually decide to go for... when you actually decide to go for Inspiration Tree with Biscuit Delivery and Time Warp Tonic. That's the only time when I use the setup. When I would use Corrupting Potion, but I don't like it. I hate last hitting with it. It feels bad. You have some sustain, and I think it's definitely a viable choice. But I just don't play it because it's, you know, not my type of playstyle. But I think it's not bad, right? Get some extra sustain. I think it's pretty good. And yeah, that's how I choose my starter items, basically. What do you think about Longsword plus 3 pots in matchups where I go with Zen first? I thought about it, but the problem with Longsword is that if you look at both items, if you look at Longsword itself, right? Longsword gives 1080, right? Longsword gives 1080, nothing else, and you get 3 potions, right? You don't really want to go refillable, even though you should, right? But if you go Longsword, you kind of have to go potions, 3 potions, because they have more sustain, right? But I wouldn't really start Longsword, because if you look at Doran's Blade, for example, right? You get 2 less 80, but you get 80 extra health and 2.5% Omnivamp. Plus, and you lose only 2 potions, right? And 1 potion is like, what, 150 HP? So, I think it's not worth, like, ever starting Longsword. I think it's really greedy, and it can work, right? Especially if you want to rush, like, Wit's End. I think it does work. But I feel like having no extra HP early on is really bad for Kayle, because Kayle has such low base stats. How do you go Kayle support? I would just go a normal AP build with Lethal Tempo or Pressy Tech into as Kayle support. I wouldn't build Kayle as a support champion, because then you will limit yourself to only 1 ability instead of just going a normal AP build. You will deal damage and you have good healing. So yeah. What boots type you buy depending on matchups? I would always go Berserker Greaves unless you play against a hard CC comp and you don't have cleanse. If you play into like Twisted Fate mid lane and they have like Leona support, you know, I would think about going, if you have Lethal Tempo, I would go Merc Treads, right? There's also the option to just go for Tenacity, right? If you decide to go for Tenacity and like, you know, like whatever you play against Conditioning and then like Unflinching, I don't think you need to go for Merc Treads. But, yeah. Like, this is an option, Tenacity and Unflinching, and then you still go Berserker Greaves, or you just go Alacrity and keep Unflinching and then just go for Merc Treads instead. Against full AD team, I wouldn't even buy, if I play mid lane, I would never ever buy, you take Tenacity into Sion, Unflinching, I take Unflinching. I would never buy Tabis at all. It can work, but you lose 35% attack speed of Berserk Greaves, and I don't think it's worth. It's not worth the damage trade-off, right? I don't think it's worth. Not even into full AD. I would just buy Zonias, and like that's enough. But all ADCs buy Longsword 3 potions. What's the difference? They are ranged early on, and they don't have to go for melee range, and they you don't automatically lose a matchup on bot lane, right? They're both ranged. I'm melee champion. I can't farm from range. I can, but like every 8 seconds when my E is up. Adaptive power is better than attack speed. Adaptive power... No, I don't agree. I think the attack speed, it can work. But, dude, it's 10% attack speed. It's so worth... There are a lot of mages who don't even go double adaptive force. They just use attack speed and adaptive force. Because they can use more auto attacks. And it will stack up over time. Right? But I would always go attack speed. Right? Kayle needs attack speed. Kayle without attack speed is just not a good... it's not good. Right? Yeah, I think that's it, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below if you have any other questions. I hope I didn't forget anything. And yeah, leave a like and subscribe, because apparently 50% of you guys are not subscribed to watch the video. So I would appreciate a subscription, you know. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.